I'm doing this set against my will. Oh, that was hard.
Fucking hell.
What's that guy, Daniel Tucci? Are we rolling? So we've got some dumbbell RDLs first, split stance. So very much single leg strength, even though you are using your back leg. Very gassy. And unfortunately with like an exercise like this, you have to go pretty heavy. I think people often undercook their single leg work when actually you can load it up pretty hard, particularly a hinge like this. So with RDLs, whether it's a split stance, whether it's dual leg, you can bias more of your hamstring or your glute based on how you execute the movement. For example, Liam, that's why I was saying bend your knee a little bit more, because he comes down to this position here. So you've got like what you call like a negative shin angle. So your shin is like behind your heel here. So your hamstring is naturally working harder, versus if you bend your knee a little bit more, yes, you are using a little bit more of your quads, but you're stretching more of your glutes as well, versus you being in that position there. And we're trying to use a little bit more of our glutes in this position. So what I'm focusing on doing is having some knee bend at the start and then keeping that knee where it is and hinging over in that position, rather than letting my knee creep back as I go down into the bottom of the rep. Nice. It's better.
Okay then.
Got lightheaded. Do you want to do, yeah I know, do you want to do cable instead? In hindsight, programming that, I wanted to do higher reps and programmed higher reps for the GAIN program because I want people to be introduced to the movement without going super heavy, super quick. So I programmed sets of 10, but as you can hear, like it's been, what, 90 seconds since I finished that set. I'm still out of breath. My heart rate's still like in zone 2, 130 odd BPM. That's not ideal for the goal of the session, which is a strength and a muscle building response, because if your aerobic system is having to work hard and you're struggling to recover from sets because of the fatigue that you're creating, that's going to impact your ability to be able to lift weight, which, assuming that form, range of motion, etc., all staying the same, that's going to limit your own ability to create a muscle building response. So that's why higher reps isn't really the best option in a lot of cases, because it's so fatiguing. Whereas if you're working more within sort of like a 5 to 8 rep range, you're not really building up that fatigue as you would. Obviously you're working hard, but it's not the same kind of fatigue that you would build up if you're doing sets of 10, 15, 20, etc. So I programmed on this 3-point row, which we're doing, and then chest supported dumbbell lateral raise, but I don't actually love a dumbbell lateral raise. I much prefer using cables, but the reason I programmed that for the GAIN program is because a lot of people don't have access to dual cable stacks and being able to like chop and change like we have an entire gym to be able to use. We have the luxury of being able to kind of like set up multiple stations where we want and not have to worry about other people taking your equipment. So that's why I programmed the chest supported lateral raise, so it'd be easy for someone to be able to set up one bench, chest supported dumbbell lateral raise and a 3-point row in the same station. So we're just changing it up a little bit. For however many years Liam has been training, he still doesn't know how to use the fucking strap. Every time I go to use the straps after him, it's like wonky like that, half thread through the wrong way. So if you do want to know how to use the strap, the way that you put it if you're using one of these longer straps is you want that, the long part, to be an extension of your pinky. So if you put it in your hand there, you want it to be an extension of your pinky finger that way, rather than you trying to do it through that finger there. One of the things I'm doing here, or we're doing here, is a slight, our torso angle isn't parallel to the floor. So when a lot of people do dumbbell rows, they might be here There's nothing wrong with that. But if we go over here, I think about where the exercise is hardest, which is when my upper arm is parallel to the floor. When I get into this position here, or here, that's where the dumbbell row is going to be hardest because of where basically the external moment arm is. But if I'm in this position here, when my elbow is in line with the body, it's not that hard. When I get into that finished position of my lat, I have a little bit of a drop off because the weight essentially gets a little bit lighter for me. Whereas if I'm on this part, when I get to my finishing position on my lat, which is here, that's where the exercise is hardest for me. So from like a resistance profile perspective, you're strongest in the mid-range and you're weakest in the shortened position when your lat is short, where your arm is by your side. You kind of want to have a little bit of a drop off when you start to get to that top portion, which is why we're doing it where your torso is at a line, because when my elbow gets past my body, there's a bit of a drop off when where I'm weakest. So that's why we're doing it there. That was better. Yeah, man's looking thick still. Oh, like having, whether it's an app, whether it's you literally just writing down on a piece of paper your weights, your reps, etc., is such a underrated hack for people to be able to, like if the goal is for you to build muscle, you have to be progressively overloading on a pretty much a weekly basis. So you're trying to do more, whether it's like adding 1 or 2 reps or adding a little bit of weight or improving your form or whatever it is. And that if you aren't tracking, they're like, oh, I can't remember what I did last week, then you're not progressively overloading and you're not going to continue to give the muscle the stimulus that it needs to build. If you're not using an app to log it, or you're not following a program, or you're not tracking and recording your weights, then that would be a very simple step for you to implement, for you to start progressively overloading and see improvements in your gains. Your fucking legs would be mad. Damn. So right now we've had 3.5 minutes of rest, and I'm still rest. I think people just underestimate how important rest is. If you are not resting enough between sets, particularly when you are doing heavier compound movements, if you're not resting enough to the point where your heart rates come down and you feel mentally and physically ready to be able to do it, you're not going to be able to match the same output. And what stops you from failing a rep is not the fact that you can no longer contract the muscle, it's that your rate of exertion or your perceived effort reaches a point where your brain and your body say we're not doing anymore. Not because, that's why things like motivation and drive and desire change your ability to be able to lift weight. When that's why people cheering you allows you to lift more weight, is because your perceived level of effort is higher, or you're able to do more effort because you're motivated, etc., self-talk, whatever it is. So it's not that you can no longer contract the muscle, it's that you've reached your perceived level of effort. So if you rest enough, you're going to be able to have a higher level of perceived effort. So it is just really a mental game in your ability to be able to recover to then do the same again. You like that? He fucking likes it. Oh yeah! There's no graceful way to get into this. Programmed squats. It's only cyclist squats. It's still squats. So just trying to muster up the courage to do that now. We've got a very aggressive heel elevation here. So the idea is that it then forces your shin to travel further forward. So you're essentially taking your quads through a larger range of motion. We'll front load this, so goblet position. So it'll be very quaddy. So the idea is that we're not using that much glute. You're thinking about keeping your hips completely straight, and you're just going to move your knees forwards over your toe and then back up to the top. Oh, that's some nice depth. Sometimes when I get to just before my third set, I just tick it off, just to be like, done it. Already done it. It's a foregone conclusion, mate. Fucking done it. next, moving on. It's funny because like you read somewhere and they're talking about how you can grow up to like, continue to grow hypertrophy up to like 14 sets a week, and then you can have as little as volume as 4 sets a week, and you can make gains, and like the upper end of like where it starts to plateau is like 18 sets. But 18 sets is so much.
And then I also think that the reason for 4 sets is because people always undercook their first set, right?
Yeah.
Well, so actually when we look at our sets, we ain't undercooking.
Yeah, we're going hard.
First set, right?
We're going fucking hard. Well, that's what I mean. Like, yes, it's like 1 set to failure stimulates myofibrillar protein synthesis. I'm doing this set against my will. Upper back, yeah. A less than ideal calf setup. We got to work with what we've got. They're quite hard to load up a bent knee or a seated calf variation in a gym like this, where we haven't got access to a Smith machine, we haven't got access to a seated calf machine. Obviously, that would be the best option, but the only other way that we can load this really is using like a heavy sandbag on a single leg. But I didn't want to program a single leg just because it takes so long. So this is the only way that I found that you can actually load up quite heavy. So you set up some plates to create a bit of a deficit so you get a little bit more range through your calf. You use a hip pad so that you're not absolutely killing your knees with every rep, and then you can load up with a barbell nice and heavy. Again, not like the best option, but you can put a decent amount of load through your calves in a bent knee position without it having to be single leg basically. Let's just watch Liam's reps because I think he was doing it wrong. There's no fucking way he did more than me.
Outlifting Paddy once more.
That doesn't count as the first rep.
No, I know, I'm setting up on it. What?
2. We're all scared hard at 3. 6. Oh!
One more, baby.
No!
Yeah! And that's from the left arm.
Oh! What number was that?
That was 6 in a bit. I think it's 7.
So that's our workout completed. So full body sesh, 3rd full body session of the week. So we did some split stance dumbbell RDLs, sets of 10. We did lat and delt accessories, so 3-point rows and then some cable lateral raises. A 6 to 10 rep range. So left it relatively open for myself and for people just to be able to find intensity within that 6 to 10 rep range. Quad accessory did some Goblet Cyclist squats, sets of 10 there. And then some calf, some abs, and some triceps to finish in the form of some barbell calf raises, some single arm tricep extensions, and some weighted planks. So yeah, very typical full body session, upper lower, getting in muscle groups that either we haven't done within the week or touching on those muscle groups again. So this is the 2nd time that we've hit the lats, 2nd time that we've hit the quads, 3rd time that we've hit the quads, 2nd time we've hit the calf, 2nd time we've hit the abs, for example. Making sure that we're having multiple touches with high intensity so that we are keeping protein synthesis high throughout the week, whilst also making sure that we have a decent amount of recovery between sessions as well. Bearing in mind that the program that I write and the program that I'm doing is the GAIN program, which is essentially a hybrid program. So we're trying to balance bodybuilding and getting the best stimulus we can for bodybuilding alongside heavy strength working like squat variations, deadlift variations, bench, etc., and to be running fit or erg fit at the same time as well. So it's a hard balance trying to fit all of that in and make sure that we aren't pushing too far one way or pulling too far another. And one of the reasons why I've recently changed from doing upper, lower, full body within the 3 sessions a week into 3 full body sessions is just to try and manage that fatigue a little bit more over the week, rather than absolutely ending people with a heavy lower body session first thing on a Monday, which can kind of fuck people up for the rest of the week. So we'll see how it goes. Anyway, that was an insight into my training. Hopefully there was a little bit of value in there in terms of exercise execution and rationale behind some of the exercises that I've chosen and how I'm executing them. I'm going to be doing more of these videos in the coming weeks and months. The plan is to get a YouTube out every week. So if you are watching this and you enjoyed that video, put in the comments below what videos you would like me to do. And myself and Harry will come together and make it happen. For now, keep watching and hope that helps.